Are you excited?
Oh, I am. Well, I would be excited if I wasn't a New Yorker. And all self respecting New Yorkers know to play it cool around their heroes. So, yeah, I guess.
Playing it cool. Didn't you date someone once, almost date him or something like that, just because they said they read urban fantasy?
Uh, I considered it. There were other problems. I mean, it's kind of rare to find a guy who likes these books, to be
Fair
honest.
enough. Well, dear audience, I would just like to say at this stage that we actually had a much more sophisticated introduction planned, but we're kind of fangirls.
We are fangirls. Gadi and I actually met maybe 5 years ago at a tech startup program, which, think a bunch of really, excited tech nerds, mostly guys who all want to change the world. And we had gotten to talking about body language and how you can, what you can tell from somebody about their body language. And I know I liked and trusted him because I admitted the truth to him, which is that most of what I think I know about body language came from this series of books about a coyote shapeshifter.
I read that book. I'm just saying, I love recommendations and I love Karen's recommendations that I did. And here we are doing this show about urban fantasy. So let's talk a little bit about urban fantasy, Karen. You even write in this genre.
I mean, urban fantasy is my favorite genre, and it's this strange little jewel of a genre because it sort of exists on the crossroads of like five, six, seven, eight other genres. I mean, obviously, it is fantasy. It's primarily within the fantasy genre, but it borrows and nudges up a lot against romance, so much so that it's got its cousin paranormal romance, off to the side. Certainly, there's a lot of mystery in these books. A lot of them are actually structured almost as crime procedurals. There's a lot of crime procedural in there. I mean, it's similar to borrows from dark fairy tales, magical realism. Like it's a strange little spot on the map.
Well, you might expect me to say the gumshoe detective because I do like that. But I'm actually attracted to the Western part of it.
They are kind of westerns. Some of them even pull from that in their title, but the sort of idea of the lone gunslinger, black and white hats, kind of off on an epic quest against the world, almost a little bit noir.
I think that the mystery one is kind of where it connects for many people. It's what resonates for many readers. The genres are surprisingly close. In fact, I believe a lot of writers do both. Dana Cameron on our show today has actually been awarded with a mystery award for an urban fantasy story. I think the very first one.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, she was. And it's a real grab bag. Toni Kellner, who's also going to be on our show later today, actually got her start writing limericks for a Dungeons and Dragons magazine back in the day. But if there's anything that being a fan of the genre has taught me, it's that a hero can come from anywhere. We can find our way to urban fantasy from many different directions. But to ask like what is the core of the genre, for me it's the fantasy. It's in the name. Urban fantasy. It's borrows heavily from fantasy, but the setting, it's kind of dragged a lot of our own issues, problems, and just realities into it. And so it's really set right here and now. This actually reminds me of how I discovered Charlene's work. I was taking a writing class at MIT, and the professor said something that stuck with me and made me go find these books. She said, if you really want to see how a setting, like a really great idea of setting, can become a main character in a story, you should read the Southern Vampire Mysteries by Charlene Harris. Because you've got this brilliant idea of putting a telepath in the deep South, where everyone's very polite, but this telepath can tell what people are really thinking.
Well, I going back to this allegory of vampires as a minority, demanding acceptance, this becomes a really rich social commentary. It's exactly what speculative fiction is about. It's about what I love about it. It's about exploring humanity, exploring societal issues from an unprejudiced point of view. It's like throwing you into a situation that's similar to your own, but you might develop an opinion that's actually opposite to your own, and these worldviews at some point would just collide, and that's so incongruent, the mind bends. And urban fantasy is not different in that. In fact, it kind of exemplifies it with our own prejudices. It's kind of superimposed on shapeshifters and vampires.
Yeah, there's really a lot of magic in these worlds and in the world building. And because we have so many of the masters of this genre with us today, one of our big events today is going to be a panel on world building, and with Patricia, Charlene, Dina Cameron, Tony Kellner. And as an appetizer, this leads us into our first segment, which is a short reading that Patricia sent us. So each of the 4 authors has chosen a short reading of their work that they've asked us to read. So that sort of exemplifies a different element or aspect of world building, and that they'll want to talk about in the panel when we all group together later.